What's going on, yogis? Through the Mud Yogi here. Nice little perspective. That's a great little bookshelf there. It'll be filled with all, wonderful works soon. I actually have the books I'm reading over there. But I just did a great yin yoga practice, and like I kind of said in the last video, I'm definitely been putting in a lot of work, although it seems like because that work has been a struggle, I haven't been, right? It seems like I've been floundering, and I do definitely reiterate that it is okay, especially when you're dealing with some really tough things in your practice, or if I just really think when you have a complete practice, there's going to be times when things aren't easy, when you are grappling with circumstances outside of your control that are affecting your inside. And what I've been learning in the studying I've been doing and the teachings I've been trying to absorb is that really your mind, right, is just creating that suffering. And those are the core tenets of many of the teachings. I am, just a vessel, just repeating this, but couldn't be more the case with myself right now. I'm very isolated. I'm pretty much living in a newer apartment by myself, and I have some minimal contact with the outside world, and that's okay. And it's given me time for reflection, and that's okay. The story I want to share today is about a different meditative technique to kind of get me out of that suffering mind, right? That's kind of the point of anchoring to your breath, having a mantra and things like that, is to really get you out of your mind as, the preconditioned mind, get you out of that negative mind state that's maybe more natural to a lot of us as we're coming into the project or our practice dealing with a variety of things. So, right, for example, a mantra, you might just say, anytime you find yourself thinking, recite your mantra. Anytime you find yourself thinking, just return to your breath. Return to your breath. So the technique I used, I think 2 summers ago, I started, and this is why I really think make your own practice. I'm sure someone's done this before, but it's not something like you read about often. And that's why I think it's great to say use a breath technique, but expand, like really get into it. But in the example, I think about 2 summers ago, I would sit and meditate on a porch of mine, and it was on the 2nd floor of an apartment. And I would be right near the trees, and the birds would be chirping. And I would just absorb the sunlight. I would just be in nature. I was really needed to connect to heal at that time. It was intense healing. It was very apparent that was my life, was to heal. And I would sit in meditation and just listen to the birds chirp and just bring my awareness, right? My perch was to the birds on a perch. And it was fascinating. And I do believe that there was a lot of spiritual angles to this. And there was some magic that I believe happened. And I can't obviously say I know why. But as I sat on this porch, I believe they were called robins, or I forget, East Coast robins, I believe the term. I did a little research. I had taken some pictures and even had some video of this at one point. But I used to just sit there, and that would be it, for my half hour, for my 15 minutes, for my hour. I would just use the anchor of that birds to connect myself, and it connected me to the whole, the interconnected nature of it all. And it was fun at a time, right? Because I was really trying to rewire my brain. I am trying to rewire my brain, to heal my brain. And it was like you get into these weird states where you were just a bird, and your eyes would be closed, and you kind of, you're aware of your body. But, when you get really deep into some of these meditative states, it was fun, it was weird, it was different. And I really thought that was awesome. And there were these two birds in particular. I believe probably a male and a female bird. They were nesting, and they would fly from my porch because it was kind of like a deck, and they would fly up to the house and sneak in between the vinyl siding. I guess that's probably wasn't good for the apartment. And there was probably between my ceiling and the next floor or the roof or whatever, there was probably somewhere that they could nest, and they started nesting. And I would sit there for these long periods of time, right? I would anchor sometimes, and not all the time using that bird method, but I just would watch, and I would become so still, and I would just become a part of the present moment. And I was like, don't be human. Don't be as human. Just be a being, just like them. There was no separation, right? I was breaking down that duality and just embracing that moment. And it was so powerful to me. And over time, they would build the nest, and I would just sit there and watch. They would go down, get their things, boom, boom, boom. And it was great. And it would happen every day. And then one day, they were getting, I think, a little bigger probably. I don't know, because it seemed like sometimes they would struggle with their entry points. And the bird was up there, and they were trying to bring it in, and they dropped this, piece of grass or whatever you want to call it that they were bringing up to nest with, and it fell from the perch. And I was watching this, and I just stood up. I grabbed the longer blade of grass, and I just went up to the perch, and I stuck it in. And then, as they were doing, they put the grass up on the perch and then sneak in the hole and pull it back. I just sat back and watched, and then a few seconds later, whoop, that blade of grass was gone. And I helped these birds nest, and it was beautiful. And they went away, and I think it was maybe last summer or something. I think I was back on that same porch. I don't live there anymore, but yeah, the birds did come back. I can't say for sure it was the same one, but they did not nest that next year. But I did start seeing robins appear there. Maybe it just wasn't a good spot, but it was it's kind of a meditation story, right, about birds. Maybe it's some meditation methods to maybe anchor yourself to maybe something pleasant like birds chirping, and just be present. Just interconnect with nature. Be less human, maybe, or maybe be more human, right? I think that's maybe what I'm trying to say. Be more human, be more present.